Welcome to the Family History Show. My name is Liam from Findmypast, and today we're talking all things from movie to manor set, the history, the interesting gossip behind some of the UK and Ireland's most loved film and TV locations. So stay tuned for that. We've got, as I say, a bit of history. We've got a quiz coming up. We've got all sorts of fun coming at you for the next hour, 45 minutes of show. We'll see how things go. And I'm not on my own today. We do have my Family History Show co-host Ellie, who I'll add on here now, just to make sure just before you tuned off thinking it was just me, we do have the twosome are back together. It feels like ages since I did one of these, certainly since we did one together as well. There's been holidays, illnesses, trips to London. There's been all sorts of things going on that have hampered our Family History Show, but we're back.
We are indeed. Yeah, it's nice to be back. I always find it's much more fun when there's two of us. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you've had a good week. I hope the weather's perked up a little bit for you. It has here in North Wales, although it is very cold. It's not very cold. It's sort of like, it's 9 degrees. It feels colder than it is, I think. But yeah, I hope everyone's had a good week and you've been getting up some good family history, family tree stuff. We want to hear all about it.
Absolutely. And yeah, like you say, it is. I'm so used to it being so cold that my computer telling me it's 8 degrees. I'm just not believing it because I went a walk at lunchtime and it was not 8 degrees. So I'm not buying that. It was much, much colder. But it seems like everyone is much in such the same. Gina from a cold but sunny Lincolnshire, very sunny Enfield, North London. Lynn is in BC. I'd be interested to know what the temperature is looking like over there at the moment. We're complaining about 8 degrees, but it might be in the minuses. I know we've got colleagues jetting off to Roots Tech next week, and I saw some weather forecasts there, which I am not very jealous of. It seems like it is going to be typically very cold for this time of year, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for you to get your sort of Roots Tech call up, Liam. Would you like to go?
See, I've never actually been to America before.
Have you not?
No, I've never been. We never did like Florida or anything like that when we were kids. So I've never been, so no offense to Salt Lake City, but I would like my first trip to the United States to be a New York, for example. Me and my girlfriend were eyeing up New York last year, I think it was. So yeah, I'm kind of, once I've been to America, I would like, but I also thought it'd be quite nice because I would have so much help in organizing it. We're in the Roots Tech chat and you see everyone going back and forth and telling it, like Jen, obviously the expert, knows the visas and the insurance cards, and
she's done it so many times
and all this kind of stuff. So seeing that, I was like, that'd be quite a good test run actually to get a vibe for what it's like. Because yeah, like I said, I know it's very different from just jumping on a budget airline flight to Copenhagen or something like that, and there's no real drama. But have you been to America?
I've been twice. So I went to New York probably about 10 years ago now, I think. That was the first time. And then I went to Roots Tech. So I've only been twice. Very lucky to have been able to go both times. Speaking of Roots Tech, next week is Roots Tech, obviously. And we do have a stand there. So if anybody is going this year, please come and say hi to us when we're there. Not me and Liam, but I mean us as in like the royal we. Come and say hi to Findmypast. We do have a stand. We have a couple of talks that are going on as well. Liam is going to be sharing news of those in case you haven't checked those out. Next week, I think we're going to pop those in the forum. So if you want to go and see what we're up to. Yeah, that was it. And the other thing to say about Roots Tech as well is that we're going to have a special live next week. So I'm going to be hosting and then Jen is going to be joining live from Roots Tech. So if you can't make it and you want all the hot goss, what's going on at Findmypast, what's new, all of that, that's going to be the session to join. So we're going to have that next week. And Absolutely. It will be normal time for us. So it will be sort of 4:00 UK time. And then for everybody in the States, it will be in the morning.
Absolutely. And I can see Rita is going to Roots Tech, so that'll be fun. As we said, me and Elliot, unfortunately, are not going, but you will see Jen there. You'll see there's people from Dundee, people from the customer support team going. And yeah, a whole host of interest in Findmypast members of staff. So yeah, be sure to say hello to the stand. Sarah says that she still hopes Roots Tech will try for London again. See, I would do that. I could jump on a train to London. I've done that plenty of times, so I would definitely come to London. But yeah, Salt Lake City is far away.
Yeah, the one in London in 2019 was quite good. I went to that one. I think the only thing that I found quite overwhelming about it is that they had Comic Con at the XL at the same time, and not
In
that
the
I
same
did
venue.
in the same venue. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a massive venue.
Yeah.
But it was. I would love to go to Comic Con one of these days. I would love to go, but just the fact that like that was going on at the same time, and then we were trying to do all this family history stuff at this, like it was quite overwhelming for me.
Yeah, it's quite a strange
Separate the two.
sort of. Yeah, it's quite a strange sort of meeting of two groups when you've got family historians and then people dressed up as superheroes queuing out the other door. It's quite a strange mix. But yeah, a lot of love for Roots Tech London in the chat. So we can start the campaign together and see if we can get all. We could do a family history show live and in person. Even imagine that.
That would be so nice.
So
what are we talking about today, Liam?
What we're talking about, we are talking about, I do apologize for the Americanization of the title. I promise you I do call them films normally, not movies, but I like a bit of alliteration in my title. So it is From Manor to Movie Set, as I say, just surely alliteration. I always call them films. Or pictures, I would have called them when I was young. Do you call them that?
Yeah, we always used to say those the pictures. Yeah,
it's one of those things I didn't know if it was like a Scottish thing or not. Because I'm sure even like friends from other places in Scotland don't call them pictures. But yeah, we would always say that growing up, going to the pictures. So we'll call them pictures from now on. That's fun. We're talking about the sort of film locations behind some of the UK's favourite pictures and TV shows, television shows, telly shows. I'm all American in my head now. I've called it movie sets once, and now I'm calling them television shows, teleprograms.
Let's go with that.
What's on the telly? We're talking about, just some of the sort of history behind some of them. We've got a fun quiz I've not shown you. I made a point not to include that in the show notes that I sent you. So
you haven't sent me the quiz stuff. Does that mean I get to play along again?
Yeah, exactly that. I like making you play along. I don't like giving you the answers straight away. So everyone can play along. But then I get so
frustrated, and everybody sees how competitive that I am.
It's fun for me and everyone else as well, I'm sure. There's no prizes, so there's no need to get competitive. It's just a bit of fun, Ellie. No prizes to be won.
I'll get competitive anyway. Yeah. We all know this is going to happen. I'm going to get really frustrated with myself when I don't get them right.
It's going to be, what was the last one we did? My Christmas quiz.
Christmas quiz, yeah.
Christmas quiz all over again. I like a quiz.
Have we got a question of the week?
We do indeed. I'm just about to pop it on screen because I forgot to do a slide for it, but I'm liking the look of these banners. It seems so long since I've done it. These have been updated and they're looking really cool.
I tweaked them slightly, you see. Let's pop it in the chat as well. Very question of the week. There we go.
Have you ever visited the set of a film or TV program, whether knowingly or unknowingly? I haven't done it knowingly, but I have in turn been to places that have been used in films and on TV. But especially if you've made a point of going to, if you've got a favorite film or TV program, whether it was in the UK, it's abroad, it's in America and Canada, wherever you might be, wherever you might have gone, let us know if you have ever made the trip and gone to see the set. Especially with some of the ones we're going to talk about, you're not just going to a random street in Dundee that made an appearance on Succession, although maybe that's the one. I'll come back to that later on. But some of the ones, they're more grand. There is a reason to visit these places that isn't necessarily directly linked to the TV or film that it was set there. But we will start with the fun little quiz, and then we'll jump in to the history side of things.
Nice,
like that. So let's see, because when I was trying to join, it was doing really annoying things. So let me just make sure this works. It does work. So question, some of these might have more than one answer, I will caveat.
Oh, we're quizzing now. Okay.
So this is question one of the quiz. As I say, some of them may have more than one answer, but I have an answer in my head. So if you get the one that I have in my head, then there will be bonus points. Although, as I say, we're not playing for prizes.
How many are there, Liam?
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There were meant to be 5, and then right before I joined to go live, I realised that I'd forgot to put in the one that I'm going to talk about, so I had to throw that in last minute and kept the rest of them. So if you know the name of the place, or you know the film or television program that this is kind of, as I say, in my head, I think they're most associated with. But as I say, there might be a generational gap here that places might be well known for something that I'm not aware of.
Now, are we doing these one at a time, or are we going to just go through them all and then we'll mark them afterwards? What are we doing? I've got my notepad ready.
We'll do them one at a time. So answers in the chat now. If you know where this is, what film or television program, no spoilers, that is, what would you associate? What film or television program would you associate with this particular scene?
Right, I've written my answer down without looking at the chat.
That's the thing as well. I need to try and hide the chat from you as well.
No, I can hide the chat myself.
Don't want you stealing answers here.
It's okay. Now I cannot see the chat. I've hidden it from myself.
I believe you. So yeah, film, or if you don't know the film but you know where it is, you can let us know that as well.
So basically what you're saying is we've got a point per correct location, a point per correct film. And you only sorry. You go.
2 points per question. Let's say 2 points per question. I will start a little tally for you so I can keep track of your answers. Right. Question number 1. A lot of people getting the film correct. It is Harry Potter. Don't ask me which one, as I only saw the first 2 in the cinema, and I've not seen another one since then. I only saw the first 2, and my girlfriend does an annual Harry Potter marathon where she watches them all from start to finish. So I've seen sort of clips here and there, but I'm assuming it's in all or most of them. Are you a Harry Potter fan, Ellie?
I don't think it is in all of them, no.
Is it the first one when they're actually traveling to Hogwarts? Is this where they are?
I can't remember. I don't think it appears in all of them, but it appears in probably about half, but I couldn't tell you which ones. But I can also tell you the location as well.
Yeah, do you want your bonus point? What's the location?
The Glenfinnan Viaduct.
Glenfinnan Viaduct. That is 2 points for Ellie. A lot of people getting the Harry Potter right. Andrew, I think, the only person to get both in there. But I like Linda's answer, so she can get a bonus point as well. That her father-in-law used to be a postie there, which is must have been a very scenic postie route, I would imagine. So, absolutely. So, question number 2. Again, there's probably more than one correct answer for this, but I have one in my head and I've lost my cursor. There it goes. This is a little bit trickier, I would say.
I think I'm wrong, but we're going to go with it.
One of Kim Billy's distant cousins was in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Thank you for the third film. See, I don't even know the names of them. I feel like it's embarrassing for someone of my age to have not grown up with Harry Potter, but yeah.
No,
I don't know why.
I mean, I did, but things are not for everybody. You know, art is subjective.
Exactly. Art is subjective. Harry Potter is subjective. But yeah, that's very cool that one of Kim Billy's distant cousins was in one of the Harry Potters.
So I actually auditioned. No, I didn't audition. I applied to audition. I didn't quite get an audition for Luna Lovegood.
Which one's she?
She's the sort of kooky one who sort of is a bit weird.
Don't see that for you at all. I can see why they turned you down. That's not you at all.
It's definitely me.
I thought you were going to say you were up against Emma Watson.
No, not quite. Okay, I'm ready. Hopefully everybody else is ready.
We'll give it another little second or so. Do you think you're going to have the same? I think
I'm wrong.
You think you're wrong? What have you gone for?
No. I want you to have to tell me the correct answer, and then we'll see how we go.
Well, that's not how quizzes work. Then I don't know if you've given me the... Okay. The location is Glencoe.
I got that one right. Okay, that's
And
good.
the film I had in mind was Skyfall.
Yeah, oh my God.
2 points again.
I mean, I put James Bond, but I
I'll
meant
count
Skyfall.
that. Yeah, I'll
I think
count that.
counts.
Linda put James Bond in the chat as well, so I'm counting James Bond. If you said James Bond, I'll count it there.
Also, can we just say that Rita agrees that I would have been a great Luna? I think I would have been.
I'm going to need to look Luna up after this and see if I can picture. This is going to be with the power of AI. I'm going to reimagine Harry Potter with you as Luna Lovegood and see how it would have gone.
Terrifying.
An alternate history where you're Luna Lovegood and you're a Hollywood star, and I'm here alone just doing this quiz. Question number 3, again, a TV show I have not seen, but I think Ellie has seen, so someone else can tell us more about this one. It was hard to find. Again, I've not seen the TV show or film, whichever one it is, so I'm not sure how accurate this is, but it certainly did look like this from the other pictures I saw. If anybody knows location,
I don't know.
Or I'll say it's a TV show because it is a trickier one. It is a trickier one. I've tried to cover all of the UK, if that gives a hint. And this is when we had the conversation about this whole scenario. This is one that we mentioned, Ellie, as being advertised quite heavily for what we are about to speak about. If that rings
very cryptic.
Very cryptic. Too cryptic. It is a hard one, as I say. It's a hard one, and it's one that if you've seen the TV program, it probably will ring a bell. But
no, I've actually no clue. I'm going to have to pass on this one.
Pass. As I say, it's a hard one. The next one's easier. The next one is custom made for you, so you should get the next one. This is Castle Ward in County Down. Also known as Winterfell in Game of Thrones.
Oh, but it looks nothing like Winterfell.
Well, it did in the pictures I looked at, and that's all I know because I've never seen the TV program or any of the spin-offs. That's one that I've just never got into for some reason, even when it was the biggest TV show in the world. But yeah, a few people. Jeff got that. Sarah got that.
Well done, Jeff.
I like Nicole's suggestion of Bicker or Dibley. That's one I should definitely have picked as well. I should have gone.
Sarah got it as well.
Oh yeah, sorry, Miss Sarah there.
Rita's taking notes for her next trip. Yes, this is great.
I've got a link for you after the quiz, Rita. I will put a link in the chat for you, which explains more about why we are talking about what we are talking about. So, question number
4.
Why does my cursor keep disappearing? There we go.
Oh, I think I do know this one.
As I say, this was custom made for you, Ellie, so you should get this one. Which television program or film would this be the backdrop?
Would I have to revoke my nationality if I got this wrong?
Yeah, I would have reported you to the Welsh Parliament, and yeah,
that's a clue there.
you've been kicked back up to Edinburgh if you got this one wrong, I think. You got Glencoe and Glenfinnan, so you're welcome in Scotland again. If the worst did happen off the back of this question, you would be welcome back across the border.
Thank you.
But yeah, some clues in there, but is it a tricky one to get on its own without the clues we've given?
I don't know. I knew what it was. I
think.
Let's hope I'm correct.
Have you been here?
No.
It's not to say it's only a place. I've never been to Wales, let alone insert place.
Well, you can just come visit. And then, Janet's only up the road from me. And is it Conway you live in, Janet? Is it Conway?
Oh, yeah.
You can visit both of us. Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, a lot of people getting this one. It is Barry Island, Gavin and Stacey, as we gave the clue to. As I say, it was
Ellie.
Custom made. And there is 2 more to go. You should get these ones, Ellie, because we spoke about this. This is more for the general public than it is for yourself, because we spoke about these ones.
Oh yeah, Janet says she's in Colwyn Bay. That's even closer to me than Conway. So there you go. Okay.
You're on 6 points from a possible 8 at the moment.
Okay, I've got my answer down. Hopefully everybody else has got it in the chat. I'm currently not looking at the chat. I keep moving between it, so I'm not getting spoiled.
Yeah, this one, I think it's, I don't know why I've picked, what have I seen? 2 of the film or TV programs in this quiz I've actually seen myself, so I'm not sure why I made it so hard for myself without knowing the answers, but there we go. I certainly wouldn't have got this. This is indeed Highclere Castle in Downton Abbey. That is in Hampshire, I believe. And I'm assuming that is a big 2 points on the board for you, Ellie.
Absolutely.
One more, and then this is the one we're going to talk a little bit more about to the backdrop of sort of what we are talking about.
I have to excuse myself from this one because I know what it is.
You should have known what the last one was because we spoke about that as well.
Yeah, I know. So I think I have to excuse myself from this one because I've already seen this week. But I would get 2 points.
Very noble of you. Yeah, I'll give you the 2 points anyway. 10 points from a possible 12, Ellie. Not too bad.
I don't think that's that bad. It just shows that I've never been to Ireland.
Yeah, because that's the one when we spoke about what we are speaking about. I said, as soon as you get on the bus from Belfast Airport, it is plastered with, come and see where Game of Thrones was filmed. Go to the Giant's Causeway. Go here. This castle. A lot of it was filmed.
I remember that conversation now.
I think some of it was filmed in Scotland as well, if I remember correctly. But yeah, Ireland seems to be the big hub, especially for the tourism. But yeah, it is indeed Pride and Prejudice. And as Ellie asked me when I first sent her this one for a Facebook post that we made last week, some point in the past 10 days, that I had to specify which Pride and Prejudice, which confused me as I am not a period drama head. That, again, that is something my girlfriend absolutely loves, but it was the 1995 BBC television show Pride and Prejudice, and it is Lime Park in Disley, Cheshire. And that
it's on my list of places to go visit.
Is Cheshire, and this again, just maybe a silly question, showing my distinct lack of geography. Cheshire isn't that close to Wales, is it?
Yeah. If you're in North Wales, so I'm in Denbighshire, and then if you go east, you end up in Flintshire, and then if you go east again, you end up in Cheshire. So it's only probably about just over an hour away from me.
Okay. See, I had Cheshire. Yeah, I had it much further north in my head for some reason. When I started asking that question, I was like, this is either right across the border or absolutely miles away. And either way, it's going to be a silly question, but we'll take it. But you'll be glad to know that that is the end of the quiz. But as I say, we've got more to talk about this particular location. But before we dive into Lime Park itself, just a little bit about why we are talking about what we're talking about. So we have various chats at work. People send Ellie and myself things that they think might be interesting for social. And this was one that came to us via our esteemed colleague who you all know, Jen Baldwin. And this was a new campaign from Visit England. And they are encouraging tourism to England specifically in this example through the use of what is called screen tourism, which was a new phrase for me. I'm not sure if it's a new phrase entirely, but certainly a new phrase to me. And it is what we're talking about, using things like these locations to encourage tourism to England, to specific areas. Come to Cheshire and see Lime Park. As I was saying, go to Northern Ireland and it is all over Game of Thrones posters plastered all over the first bus that you get on from the airport. So it's certainly a bit of an interesting concept, I would say, especially for what we're talking about and asking people if they've ever done that as well. And yeah, is it something you think you would do? Obviously, you've been some places, but would you think, is there a film or TV program further afield where you would inspired to go to because of the film?
I would probably say the series Bridgerton. That has some stunning locations, and I think there's definitely that sort of sense of screen tourism when it comes to those locations for Bridgerton, because they film all over the place, and They sometimes use some more well-known locations, and sometimes they use ones that are a little bit less well-known. So it's really nice, and it is quite a nice boost to the local area for wherever that happens. If you consider, the example I sometimes always cite is Outlander, because there's been a huge rise in tourism to Scotland, and a lot of that is attributed to the books and the TV series Outlander. And I have visited some of the locations that were used in the TV show, and some of them were because I was actually there on set, because as I'm sure I tell all of you all the time, I was an extra in season 2 of Outlander. So I was at Falkland and Falkland Palace doing some filming. But then if I consider more recently places that I've been, not necessarily because they've been used in TV shows, I don't think, but if I think where was it I went to reasonably recently? Alnwick Castle in Northumberland. Okay. Absolutely stunning, by the way. And I think I knew that it was used for Harry Potter and for Downton Abbey, but I had forgotten. And it was only as I was going round that they had, in the gift shop, they had stuff to do with Harry Potter and Downton Abbey, and then they had like certain like mini exhibitions in the house, I think. And then when I sort of saw there was a courtyard that they used, and there was like an entrance hall that they use in, I think it's like season 5 or 6 of Downton Abbey. It's one of the Christmas specials, and it's just like it the penny sort of dropped, and I remembered where I'd seen it before. So yeah.
Yeah, we've got some Outlander fans in the chat. Lynn wants to know what episode of season 2.
It's later on in the season. I need to go and look it up.
We're gonna need. We spoke about this before. We definitely need to dig this up because it comes up relatively often, and I really want to see it. I've never seen Outlander again, so we're gonna need to find out which one this is, because it's a lot of fans in the chat, as I'm saying.
Well, if you do your next segment, I'm going to go look it up, and I'll put it in the chat.
Great. Look forward to it. So we're back on to Lyme Park. That was one that we posted about on Facebook as it being home to Britain's elite. And that's the wrong slide. If I can go back one there. That's okay. I'm just going to skip on in a second anyway. Yeah, so it's as I say, gone from kind of this stately home, very much home to Britain's elite. And it's perhaps sort of more well-known now. That's probably one of the most answered questions in the chat, was knowing which film or TV program that came from. And it's the case for quite a lot of those places. For example, Glenfinnan Viaduct is also known as the Harry Potter Bridge, affectionately. So whenever you Google Harry Potter Bridge, it will be the Glenfinnan Viaduct that comes up. But it's an interesting sort of switch of history, I always think, going from where this place was to why it is known now. And of course, it isn't just a film set. It's not a film studio. Lyme Park is specifically owned by the National Trust now. So it is a National Trust site. You can go and visit it like you would many of the stately homes, especially those properties in the care of the National Trust as well. But it's an interesting one to have a look into, and especially sort of the history behind sort of Lyme Park. And it's certainly got quite typical of a kind of stately home that we all know, that we've spoken about in the past. And when I started kind of looking into this, and I had sort of a general history of the property that I'd found online and Findmypast on the other screen looking things up. And one thing I did kind of notice was that with a property like this that goes back so far, it was first granted to, putting my pronunciation on the spot here, Sir Thomas Danier, perhaps, in 1346, and it was passed to the Lees of Lyme in 1388. So you can see how long it has been in possession. They owned it right through to the 1940s when it was passed over to the National Trust. So it's been in the care of sort of one family for, I'm putting my math on the spot here, 600 years?
That's pretty impressive.
Just shy of 600 years, which is incredible to think about. And you think all the stories that there must be about that. But of course, at the end of the day, although it is a stately home, it's house history. And where do you go for house history? You go to the address search, you go to the censuses, to the 1939 register. But when you're talking about a property like this, those sort of records, I kind of think they miss the sort of the heyday of the property, if that makes sense. When I was reading the general history of it, there was people involved in battles and all sorts of things going on at the house in the sort of 1500s, whereas the censuses we're still talking almost 200 years ago with the 1841 census, but it's a different angle in the history, I always think.
Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, so but of course, as well as the address search, there is the newspapers. And one thing I found pretty cool about this particular property was that the newspaper coverage goes all the way back to 1775, which is pretty old. There can't be many properties that you're doing house history for outside of your stately homes, of course, that you'd be going back to 1775. And the Manchester Mercury, which was a title I didn't know we had, certainly not one I would have known went as far back as this, because these are both from the Manchester Mercury, 1775 and 1794. And you can see, oops, daisies, I've scrolled there. We're back to Barry Island there. We're back to the very start of the presentation. There we go. Mouse has got a mind of its own today. And I should have looked this up before, but how are we saying the surname? Leghs? Lees? Lefts? It is here.
Lee, I would probably say.
I went with Lee. See, some things just stick with my gut. But you can see that, as I say, they've had it since the 14th century. So obviously they are named in all of this. But it's interesting, the sort of the types of articles that you're getting there. The one on the right was for livestock that they were selling from the property. It's a 1,400-acre property, they said. So you can imagine what sort of land and what sort of activities were going on. It's not just a home. There's masses of grounds behind that as well. So it is interesting. But of course, as I say, although you miss the heyday, maybe you miss the battles and the sort of more, is that still medieval 14th century back end?
Just about.
What period would that? I'm terrible at periods. What period would that be? 1500?
Yeah, you said 1300s.
1300s, so not too far
Yeah,
off it.
You're sort of coming to the end of the medieval period and into the Renaissance.
Renaissance. Yeah, okay. Periods is something that I just really struggle with remembering which one is which. But as I say, there are census records, and the census records are very typical as to what you'd expect. We saw a load of these when we were doing our work with the National Trust and the properties that they have. There is, I think I counted 17 people in this particular household, and this was just the main hall. There were about 3 pages onwards of the various outbuildings, the farms, the members of staff. Even when you look at the occupations in there, there's gardeners, there's housemaids, there's all sorts of people in there. But one thing I found kind of particularly interesting when you look at the occupations is the head of the household. I can't think of many census returns I've seen that have Member of Parliament as the head of the household. I thought that was quite a cool one. I've not looked up many politicians in censuses, I will admit. So it was quite a new one for me and stumbled upon, and especially when I was just looking up the general history of the house. I didn't know the family were involved in politics, but that was William John Lee, who is the head of the house. And this kind of is where you kind of get, obviously they've had a property like this in the family for 600 years, but he was a politician, his son was a politician, his grandson was a politician. You see a real sort of recurrent theme with the families. And as I say, looking at the history of the property, there were pages and pages worth of the Lee family, the Lees of Lyme as they're called, their role in various different points of history, the barons, baronesses, the portraits, the various titles that were given. But I always think, and again, calling back to the National Trust research that we did, that some of the most interesting stories when it gets to the census kind of era are in the members of staff, and those 15 odd people that aren't part of the family. They are employed by the family. And again, like I say, the work that Jen primarily was responsible for, researching the families in properties like this is part of the work with the National Trust. And yes, some of the stories that come out are just, there's amazing stories that are heartbreaking. You get all sorts of range of emotion when you're researching the staff, not the elite that own the property necessarily.
I think the other fascinating thing that came out of the National Trust research we did was that when you have these sort of big stately homes, you find them early on in the censuses. So you're talking between 1841 and 1861. The households are huge, like the amount of servants that they have. And you fast forward to 1911, and then particularly after the war in 1921, they have vastly reduced live-in households. Now, that isn't to say that these places wouldn't have had more staff. It just meant that they weren't all living in. They were probably living at home and walking to the house and back every day after they finished work.
Yeah, that is one thing. But when I did the address search, when you do the address search on Findmypast, it will tell you every census and then how many households are there. And like you say, as you're going through the years, the number of households does decrease because, like you say, they still had 1,400 acres, they still had gardens, they still had animals, but those people are no longer part of the property necessarily. They're no longer that live in. And I can see that Karen said that her 2 times great-grandfather was a groom to a Norfolk MP who is head of the house. So she'll have seen a census return, maybe not as broad as this one, but very similar. It'd be interesting to know if anyone else has any sort of family that were employed in a household like this. I know we spoke about it previously with the National Trust.
Not quite for me, but I did have, I think my 2 times great-grandfather, I think, was gamekeeper at an estate that's just down the road. And there was was it Kimmel Hall? It might have been Kimmel Hall. Yeah, I think he was gamekeeper there, but he wouldn't have lived in. They would have lived in like the gamekeeper's cottage or something.
Yeah. There's one up north of Scotland where I'm from called Gordon Castle, and I think some of my family were working for the family but weren't living on the property. Like you say, they would have been coming and going because it was, a 5-minute walk or something like that from where my family are from. So yeah, it's interesting though. And yeah, like I say, the stories that you get when you're researching the staff, and it becomes such a wider story, doesn't it? It starts with William John Lee, Member of Parliament, the elite, this massive family, massive estate, and then it gets into the maids and the gardeners and the kind of wider community around us as well, the whole sort of community around Lyme Park and similar properties.
Actually, for anybody who wanted to refresh their memory with the National Trust work that we did, I'm just going to find the page where it links everything in, and you can link out to the research that we've done. So I'll just pop that in the chat, just in case anyone missed it or wants to go and have another look.
Feels like
and
a long
also,
time ago, that.
Yeah, we did this not the summer just gone, but the summer before, I think.
Yeah.
And I think so. As part of when we did this work with the National Trust, all National Trust properties in England and Wales were free to view on the 1921 census. I'm not 100% sure if that's still the case, but it's probably worth going to have a look if you're interested.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like you say, especially when you get into the 20s, it becomes an interesting kind of story, doesn't it? Like you say, that post-war period where sometimes the staff have reduced, but like we were saying, most of the time they're just not living on the estate anymore. I
do think some of these places would have had stripped back households anyway.
Yeah.
And you can see that reflected. But it must have been such a change. And I'm not just saying like just for the these big huge grand houses and their families. It's also a change in employment for these people, for the local communities, because quite often these big houses were the beating heart of the local communities. And if that changes, if their circumstances change, then that has a knock-on effect to the people living in the local area as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like using that 1861 return for Lyme Park, as I say, I'm sure there was about 2 or 3 pages full of people in the household, and only about 5 of them were Lees. So, like you say, if you take 1 page off of those staff-wise, that's 25, 30 people in an area that have lost their job. And yeah, it does becomes less about the household and, like you say, more about the community, the local area as well.
I think that's probably what I'm more interested in. So I went to, I've been many times before in my youth, but I went back to Erithig, which is near Wrexham. That's beautiful for anybody who hasn't been.
Okay.
It's another National Trust place. But I'm walking around the sort of the servants' halls downstairs, and they've got pictures of the staff all along the walls, and they've got the census returns and things like that. So that was really nice to see. And I really wanted to sort of go up to one of the National Trust volunteers and be like, hey, I could get some more stuff for you if you want. Like, I could look them up in the newspapers and all of this. But then I thought I'm probably making work for myself there, so maybe not.
Yeah, I'm sure Jen would have been delighted if you came back from holiday and said, here's a bunch of research I've signed this up for, by the way. Like, but there is always that temptation now because of where we work and because of like even people in the chat, what we're interested in, whenever you go somewhere like that, there is that temptation to be, I bet I could find a really cool newspaper article about this kind of thing. That you always kind of think that, but yeah, it's an interesting concept, I think. And like I say, it is still house history, but it's so much more than house history. As we're saying, it's a very different type of house history. Whenever I've looked up the houses, like my flat where I stay now, I've never seen 17 people in one household. So probably more people in Lime Park than there would have been in my street at the same census, I would imagine.
Yeah. Should we do some of the question of the week answers?
We should indeed, and then we can
before we finish
let everybody get on with their weekend. Let me just refresh my memory. What have we got? See, it doesn't have to be a big stately home. It can be Jan going to the Coronation Street set. Yeah. Carl has been to EastEnders as well. So yeah, I picked the sort of grand examples, if you like, but I was really tempted to find like an Only Fools and Horses or something like that sort of angle, or EastEnders. I know we recently posted a map of London Emmerdale on our Facebook, and yeah, we get that all the time. Emmerdale. That's, again, 3 TV shows that were just not a thing in my household for some reason. Coronation Street, EastEnders, Emmerdale. My mum was always Neighbours.
Oh, I loved Neighbours.
I should have picked Ramsay Street. That should have been one of the TV sets. But yeah, British soaps for some reason just totally passed me by. Just show myself that I've never seen any film or TV program today. What else do we have? I'm gutted it was closed, but Sarah walking past Cheers in Boston. That is a cool one. Boston's always a city. Talking about going to America, Boston's always a city I'd be interested in seeing, I think.
Well, what about this one? Rita says, I live across from the river in Philadelphia. The whole city was the set for the movie Rocky. I have a co-worker who's an extra. That's cool.
That's really cool. We're going to need a video of you running up the Rocky stairs as well, Rita, to back this up. That's what everyone.
Yeah, I feel like we need evidence,
and that's the only form of evidence we'll accept. What else do we have as well? Chatsworth was one that came up when I was doing my research, because that's the other Pride and Prejudice, the 2005 Pride and Prejudice. I'm a Pride and Prejudice buff now. That isn't Lime Park. That is the other Pride and Prejudice one. And it was used in Peaky Blinders as well. I didn't know that. I'm trying to think what.
I think it was used later on when they start to get rich. I seem to remember. Yeah. There's like a house party or something.
Yeah. Is it when the Russian family are involved?
Oh, I can't remember. It's been so long since I've seen.
Very long. Let's have a look as well. A little Harry Potter callback. I get this reference. The platform at King's Cross. I actually was in King's Cross, and I was thinking that I saw that they used to do the announcement for the train to Hogwarts.
Oh, they do it on like the 1st of September every year, don't they?
Doing it, and I don't think they announced that they weren't doing it. And I wasn't there at the time, but I saw an article, but like all these Harry Potter fans had gathered. And then the time came, and there was like no announcement, I'm sure. Yeah, I might be misremembering that, but I'm positive that's what happened. And they just stopped doing it for some reason. So,
that's a shame.
But King's Cross is busy enough at the best of times. So
it really is, yeah. Although now that I live in Wales, when I go to London, I go into Euston. And Euston's nowhere near as nice as King's Cross.
Yeah, see, it is a nice train station to come into. It is one of those cool ones. And yeah, but yeah, you can imagine a lot of Harry Potter fans as well. The Harry Potter studio as well. I see a lot of people a lot of my friends going down to London to see that as well. And yeah, it's, if you're into Harry Potter, it looks like, even I'm not into Harry Potter, but seeing the sort of, what I always find really cool is like the miniatures where they did like the special effects, like the mini sets, whatever film or TV program it is, I find that really cool. So I think I'd still enjoy the Harry Potter side of things, even though I don't like Harry Potter.
I think I've been to this twice. It was well over. This was while I was still at university. So we're talking well over 10 years ago, and I thought it was expensive, but I thought it was so immersive, and there's so much to see. And if you are a Harry Potter fan, like it's like an assault on the senses. It's really good, actually.
Yeah, this one I really like because it's just a totally different angle. That Andrew used to visit an office that was across from Granada Studios, and in St John's Gardens they filmed tanks for the invasion of Czechoslovakia in the coal yard behind the studios. That's another thing I find really cool. I used to live in Glasgow. My sister and my dad still live there, and Glasgow is always used for like American streets, like it's been like New York and Philadelphia and all sorts of places, because it just has that same architecture style, same grid system as well. So I've always found that really cool, like just being in an office and looking out the back window and there's a bunch of tanks pretending they're in Czechoslovakia. I think that's a cool concept as well.
I always forget that Glasgow's got that American style grid system.
Yeah,
so that's why it works well. The other place is Liverpool. I think Liverpool's been used for because of like the architecture and things like that. I think that got used for one of the Fantastic Beasts films. I think
it did, because it came up in one of the men. If you check my internet history this afternoon, it's all just film and TV sets in the UK. So it is. It was there. It was. I can't remember the name of the hall, but there's a picture of the outside of the hall. I can remember that much. That was in there. Any more jumping out to you before we go?
No, there is something I need to say though. It was something we were talking about this week about the lives and scheduling them.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it would be good for you guys to know. We've had some issues with like scheduling the lives, and I know all of you guys, you know, a lot of you say, oh, it's not come up for me. Like we schedule it a couple of days in advance, but you're not seeing it. So what we're going to do from now on, we're going to try testing, not scheduling it, but we will just go live at 4:00 UK time. And we're probably going to start moving to fortnightly, aren't we? So it'll be every other week. But what we will do is we will ensure that an update goes into the Findmypast forum on Facebook. So if you want an update, that is where you go and find it.
I will just get a link to plug the forum as well, in case for this and for anything else as well. Any other family history goodness as well. So join the forum, as I say. That tends to be where we post updates compared to lives. As I say, it's been a hard start to the year for the Friday Live community. There's been, as I say, a lot of holidays, a lot of illness, people being off for various reasons. It's that kind of time of year where people are taking holidays, people are catching all sorts of bugs as well. So we do apologize, but hopefully we'll be back to normal now. As I say, whether it's fortnightly, weekly, we will be here. And as I say, do come back next week as well for a very special edition of the Fridays live
that'll be
Salt
really
Lake City.
Fun. So as I said at the beginning, so I'll be hosting next week. It will be Family History Expert Hour, and Jen will be joining me live from Roots Tech. So if you are not going to Roots Tech, but even if you are, if you want a place to get all the hot Findmypast gossip as to what is coming down the line, the exciting things that we're working on, if you want to get that firsthand, join the live next week, because that is where you're going to get all of the juicy updates.
You've promised a lot of juicy updates here. I hope you deliver on these.
I'm going to have to tell Jen this now. That she needs to bring the hot goss. I need to stop saying the hot goss, because I don't think
everyone's going to tune in and be like, what's the big thing that's going to happen? It's going to be fun. Whether there's hot goss or not, it's going to be fun. Ellie's there. Jen's coming in live from Salt Lake City. Maybe even pull in some special guests from the Findmypast team if anyone's in the vicinity as well. Again, trying not to overpromise here, but maybe someone will pop in and say hello.
Yeah. Actually,
yeah.
speaking of next week, Jen probably won't be able to join me until 1/2 So I'll probably do half an hour on my own. If there's anything that you guys would really like me to cover in that half an hour, so whether we do some brick wall busting, whether we want some tips on a particular type of family history, whether you want me to take you through a case study for research that I've done recently, I'm open to your suggestions. This is your session as much as it is ours. So please leave some suggestions here in the comments, or you can send them to us via Facebook private messenger if you would prefer. I'm happy to go on your suggestions for next week.
Fun. What an opportunity to guide a Friday Live for half an hour as well. So definitely get in touch. But yeah, let us know what you would like Ellie to cover in her solo half hour next week. But until then, we will say goodbye. We'll say have a lovely weekend. Thank you all very much again for joining us. Don't miss next week for the juicy goss. And
It's the hot goss.
Hot goss, sorry.
The
Hot juicy goss. But yeah, we'll leave it on that note. But again, thank you all very much for joining us. I will maybe pop into the comments, say hello next week. But if not, I will see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Bye.
Have a lovely weekend.